All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Uprise post-game show. We just witnessed the Blazers knocking off the Thunder in a very poorly played game from both sides. It was a very sloppy game, lots of travels, lots of offensive fouls. It was one of those games that was just tough to watch with how sloppy it was and how spotty the play was from both sides each time. But that's early season basketball, so these types of games are going to happen. A contending team just needs to pick up W's, which is what we did with Dame going off for the second game in a row during the fourth quarter. Give me your questions, give me your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let me know if the audio synchronizing is good, because I have to figure that out before every single game, before every single post-game show. I got the live stream right here, so I'll interact with your comments and answer your questions, and we'll get to it. So, Eric, I'm going to let you start off, man. What was your thoughts from tonight?
Got the job done. So it's a relief that they actually won this game, because it would have a lot different tone to this podcast or this post game show if we lost that crappy ass game.
Yeah,
But
100%. I unmuted you 5 seconds after you started talking. All right, we're good to go. I had him on mute. Of course, it's the easiest thing that I forget to do is to unmute Eric. So we got Eric Brandt on the post game show here. Podcast co-host. We should get back to that podcast on Friday, and that'll be our first podcast that's not on a Blazer game day since the season has started. It seems like everything is a pregame show, so we'll actually be able to get into a little bit different stuff. But yeah, like you said, the tenor and the tone of this post-game show would be 100% different if we couldn't knock off the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that I think was a little underrated going into the season. They've already had
yeah,
an
what do you
impressive
think of now?
Yeah, I still think they're a bit underrated. They're just a team that's still kind of figuring out how to play together. Chris Paul seemed uninterested the entire game. Maybe that's his decline, but I was expecting more out of Chris Paul going into the season, which is why I drafted him for our fantasy basketball team. I was expecting a little bit more from Chris Paul, and he seemed to kind of take a back seat until the fourth quarter, and then he definitely put the pressure on us. But OKC isn't a terrible team, but it's still a team that you have to beat if you have serious aspirations about contending. Contending teams win these types of games all the time. The teams that are pretenders find ways to lose games like this. So it was good that we had Dame step up and win this game for us.
Yeah, it was weird that I felt like Shy kind of disappeared in the second half. They went to Schroeder a lot more, and that's part of the problem with having three of your better players be all point guards.
Yeah.
Is never can really get into the flow. Schroeder was probably the most in the flow in this game, but that's just because he's good at drawing fouls, and we foul every time down the court.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
That's
Um,
that's driving me crazy, man.
the fouls, yeah.
We've
The,
been in the penalty with like 7 minutes to go in every quarter this year. It seems like it's
oh,
like
yeah.
stop fouling, and then the stupid fouls like at the end of the quarter. We had two tonight with 1.8 seconds left in the first and the third quarter. It's like you got to know the situation. You can't give them two free throws in those situations, and little things like that almost cost us a game in these close games. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my lighting right now. But the fouls, that's one of the reasons why the game was so hard to watch, is just because of how ridiculous. I mean, like, some of it was Portland doing it to themselves. Some of it was Portland being a little too handsy. They're calling more of the ticky-tack stuff this season, so that was part of it. But also, man, these refs, the refs tonight were awful in my opinion. They seemed
Yeah.
to really want to control the game, not let a flow develop. I think that was part of the reason why both teams didn't shoot all that well, had a lot of turnovers. There was a stretch during the start of that fourth quarter that was absolutely brutal, where it was literally offensive foul, travel, offensive foul, two travels in a row. It was like
Yep.
one or the other for like 7 possessions in a row from both sides, and it was just the most ticky-tack type of stuff. And they're cracking down on travels, which I kind of like, but it's the stuff on the perimeter where a guy doesn't even get an advantage that I wish they wouldn't call as much. Call the travels where a guy gets an advantage from traveling on a shot or on a
Right.
pass or something like that. Don't call the travels where a guy is literally standing at the top of the arc and he might have barely shuffled his pivot foot while dribbling into a handoff. Like, that's not that travel isn't creating an advantage. And the thing is, they're calling travels that I don't even know are travels. It's kind of flipped. Before they would let obvious travels go. Now they're calling travels that I don't even know what they're seeing. Like, it's very, very strange.
Yeah, I don't really mind the travels. The offensive fouls are getting. I mean, it just so happens that the 2 point of emphasis were like on those plays, like 10 plays in a row.
Yeah.
But like when you're just dribbling, like CJ got called for one in the first half where he's just dribbling east and west, not north and south, and Schroeder is kind of draped on him, pulling his jersey, and CJ just kind of stuck out his arm a little bit. Like, you should be able to put up an arm bar and dribble. Like, that's how you, like, when I was little, you were taught to have your off arm, like, up guarding, you know? Yeah. So stuff like that is pretty ticky-tacky. And then they don't call Schroeder, like, 10 times in a row when he drives, and on his layups, he's using his off arm to clear space for the big guy. And so the big can't block his shot. It's just frustrating that they call the ticky-tack ones, but they don't call the ones that are actually impacting the game, like you said.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm going to look at the comment section. If you have like anything, I don't know, there's a lot to talk about from this game. I'll let you talk about it. I'm kind of messing with my lighting right now.
Yeah.
Because the lighting's kind of weird in here. So my makeshift setup, I'm kind of tweaking here. So I'm going to read the comments if you have anything else you want to talk about.
Yeah, I just want to say, I know Dame's great, but we can't just rely on him to bail us out in the fourth quarter.
100%.
Like, we have to get in situations where that's not needed. And it is kind of weird how bad he's struggling, but how great he's playing, like, in the last 8 minutes of games, too. And there was a stretch where we hit 5 straight threes. Dame hit 3, CJ hit 1, and Hood hit 1. And we were still only up by, like, 3 at the end of that. Like, how do you hit 5 straight threes in the fourth quarter and still barely have the lead against a team like that? Like, just driving me crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wish there was a way we could trick Dame into thinking the first 3 quarters or the fourth quarter, because he's a completely different player the last couple games in the fourth quarter. He's just kind of like waiting until the fourth quarter to get going. I wish he'd just get going early so we can have a blowout win so we can chill and relax all game.
Yeah, he even said that in the post-game show that he was like, "Oh, I told Stotts at the end of the third quarter that I was going to come in 2 minutes into the fourth and take this game over." It's like, well, why didn't you do that earlier?
Yeah, 100% agree.
But we need to get the other people involved. We can't just have Dame go supernova every game.
See, and that's the thing. Like, I thought we'd use Rodney more this game because they kind of have a small perimeter group, so I thought we'd take advantage of that and, create some mismatches with Rodney, and we didn't really do that. I was kind of surprised. He scored a bucket early, and then he didn't really – I think he missed, like, his next few shots, and he didn't really get anything going until late in the fourth where he hit 2 very clutch threes. Those were 2 very clutch threes.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just like the way we've used Rodney so far this season is very, very weird. Not really utilizing him all that much, other than like being a spot up shooter and an occasional post up. I figured we'd let him run a little bit more pick and roll than he's ran. I figured we'd let him post up a little bit more than he has, because a lot of teams, especially in the Western Conference, are using like a small forward, like a undersized small forward, or they're switching guards onto Rodney Hood. We got to punish that by posting up Rodney Hood.
Yeah, absolutely agree. He made his first shot, and then he missed his next 7, I think, and then he hit those 2 threes at the end. So he didn't have a great game overall. He's playing some pretty good defense, I think, but yeah, we got to get him involved. Especially like they started with Chris Paul on him at the beginning of the game, which didn't make any sense to me because Chris Paul has done pretty well against Dame in the past.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
So, and there was one time where we posted him up and Chris Paul like body checked him like 3 times before getting the foul, but we could have gotten Paul out of the game pretty early if he was going to do that in the post. So,
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I was surprised to see Paul on him too. Rodney Hood has an 8-inch advantage over Chris Paul. It seems like we could have relied on that, especially when our offense was struggling, especially when we had so many turnovers. That's the other thing I gotta talk about is the turnovers, man. CJ McCollum had 7, I believe, and that was like 7 in the first like 3 quarters or so. He was super
Yeah.
loose with the ball, and some of his shots that he decided to shoot were very frustrating in my opinion. The stretch when Dame was hot and we were winning, and I think there was 3 or 4 minutes left, and then he forced a quick contested mid-range floater on the break with 20 on the shot clock. First
Yep.
off, like, we can take our time. We're up, so 20 seconds on the shot clock probably isn't the best time to shoot. Wind some clock down. The time was our friend. Like, so, shooting that shot, I understand if Dame's so hot, he pulls a 3 that's kind of open with 20 on the shot clock. But CJ wasn't hot, Dame was hot, and he forced that contested mid-range floater, and he missed it. And I feel like that was kind of a microcosm of CJ's game tonight, where he just, like, he scored the ball a bit, but wasn't efficient, made a lot of turnovers, and then took some very poor shots. In that possession, just back it out. Give the ball to Dame. The dude's on fire. Let him work. Go sit in the corner, spot up. You might get a wide open 3. CJ was rough tonight, in my opinion.
The part of that drives me crazy is CJ, unlike Dame will wait until there's rebounders and the team set up before he takes those long shots. Whereas CJ just pulls up before anyone's even down the court to get an offensive rebound or anything. So like if he misses, where it's like one bad shot, no one else touches the ball. And I know on Dame shots, people don't touch the ball either, but people love Dame. And I think when you're a ball hog or something like CJ and you're not making shots and you keep shooting, it starts to wear on people who are making shots.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially a guy like Hassan, who CJ can't seem to find on a pick and roll. It must be tough on a guy like that to have CJ throwing lobs that are way too low and getting picked off, and then other times where you are open, it would be an easier pass for CJ. CJ isn't even looking for him, and he's forcing some tough contested shots. CJ and Whiteside have no chemistry right now, and I feel like that's kind of tough on Whiteside. I feel like that's why there's stretches where he kind of looks disengaged, because there's stretches where we just don't utilize him. We don't get him engaged in the offense. He doesn't touch the ball. For the first like 4 minutes of the game, he didn't touch the ball in the half court once that I can remember. I mean, maybe it was once or twice, but like we weren't utilizing him. But then on the defense, we expect him to cover for CJ's mistakes, cover for Dame's mistakes. That's kind of tough. I mean, guys are human. You want them engaged 100% of the time, but guys are human. And when you got a guy who doesn't seem to look for you, when you're in an offense that doesn't seem to utilize you, even though you have a pretty good matchup against a much skinnier Nerlens Noel, but then they expect you to cover for mistakes on defensive end, that's tough in my opinion. So I feel like that's kind of part of the problem with people thinking that he looks a little bit lazy, is I think he's not. At times he's fully engaged, but at other times he's not fully engaged, and part of that is due to our team.
I felt like the year after Nurk Fever, so he comes over and plays those 20 good games, and then start off the next season, I felt like Nurk was kind of the same way. He would get disengaged when he wouldn't touch the ball at all early, and he was just standing there while the guards jacked up shots,
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about Whiteside. Like you said, we just need to engage him a little bit, get him laughing and having fun out there, and then he has a little more effort then. But it's kind of weird going against a player like Noel, because he had a couple of steals towards in the middle of the fourth quarter where he got the ball and just turned around and hooked it in over him. It was easy money.
Yeah.
But Noel's not a good player to like get offensive rebounds on, because even if he's out of position, he's pretty athletic to get defensive rebounds. So it's hard to get around him to get offensive boards. So that takes away one of Whiteside's strengths. So you got to get him involved in other ways. But yeah, just I don't know what happened to those. That there was one game where he ran 2 like quick seals in the middle of the paint, like right out the bat in our offense, and got Zach and Whiteside an easy lay-in both times. And we haven't really ever gone back to that.
I mean, I think the last 2 games, our offense hasn't been structured. Our offense is just kind of bogging down into a lot of isolation, a lot of one-on-one, a lot of just basic pick and roll. I know pick and roll is a staple of the offense. I know pick and roll should be used, and especially with Dame, who's a good pick and roll player, but there's often times where you can tell it's not even part of a set. The ball just ends up on the perimeter with guys not knowing what to do, and that guy either isolates or a big man runs up to set a screen for him, and they just kind of freelance and they don't get good shots off of it. That was a major problem in the third quarter against the Spurs. We shot like 12 jump shots in a row, didn't make one, but yet we couldn't get anything other than a jump shot. Our structured offense wasn't providing anything inside, no pressure off cuts, no, UCLA cuts, no back screens for wings, no backdoor cuts, and everything was people running around the perimeter, and our offense would bog down to one-on-one, and a guy would shoot a pull-up jump shot battling against the shot clock, and he'd miss it. And then I saw a little bit more of that this game too. There was a stretch where, especially, it was in the third quarter too, this game, where Bazemore hit a couple of jump shots, but they were basically out of isolation or out of broken offense, and just our offensive structure just isn't there. And that's honestly on Stotts, man. Our offense, I don't know. If we can't get anything but isolations and it's the players messing up sets, that's the time you call a timeout, get them together, and get them on the same page. Maybe call out a set, plan a set out of timeout to get them going, and then they should be able to execute that set. But I haven't seen that, and I don't know, man. I know you and me have the same sort of opinions on the way we're coached, but it just seems like the third quarters, the last two games, our offense has had zero structure.
It just seems like we're rolling the ball and playing rap ball out there. Yeah. Like I'd show up and watch you at your rec game. Like that's the kind of offense we're running, right? I'm
a point forward, so I orchestrate better offense than that. I know it's rec league defense, but man, like if I'm out there, I'm trying to orchestrate things. Like that's the thing. Yeah. The way I play, if I was an NBA player, knowing that Whiteside might have a tendency to get a little bit disengaged, I'd bring the ball down the court, clear out a side, and have him post up if I'm orchestrating an offense, just to get him a touch, just to keep him engaged. You might not score off the touch, but knowing that, for Whiteside, knowing that I'm looking to get him a touch, I'm looking to involve him in the offense, that might make him more engaged on defense, and that might be better overall for the entire game, even if he doesn't score. Sometimes you just need to get your big guy a touch, especially if he's the anchor of your defense, and we don't really look to do that all that much. So I don't know, man.
See, my issue is you basically have to have good ISO players to win in the NBA. You have to have guys who can create their own shot and stuff like that. But you also don't have to do that right away every possession. You like we were talking about with CJ, he doesn't have to take a shot with 20 seconds on the shot clock. He can get that shot anytime in the shot clock. So run some sets, run some ball, like move the ball around the perimeter, try to get someone open for a jumper. And if that doesn't work, like with 10 seconds left, then you throw it to CJ and let him create a shot. I'd be totally fine with that, even if he wasn't shooting well. Yeah. It's just when you, I mean, there was probably 10 possessions at least in every game where either Dame or CJ took a shot like 10 times in a row without anyone else touching the ball as for stretches. And that it's just not good team basketball.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating because like those guys are so good, but like they're not shooting well right now. So it's not like they were hot in the first half or something and they should be shooting all those shots like heat checks and stuff because they weren't.
Yeah, I don't know. So Reed Newcomer, I had an engagement with him on Twitter. He said he just name dropped my high school coach, the guy who coached me in high school. He said Coach Long would never. I'm curious to know what he means by he would never. Like he would never what? Reed also says Stotts isn't the problem. Our roster is really weird. For me, it's a completely different roster. Now we have wings that can shoot and score. That was the problem originally, but now somehow our roster is still very weird. I feel like the roster is always going to be the excuse for some people with his offense until we get to the point where we might have like a Blake Griffin and Otto Porter Jr. and we can freelance to the point or we can have so much talent that we can freelance and look amazing still. You know what I mean? But then at that point, Stotts is just rolling out the ball. You know, guys are freelancing and we have so much talent that we'd still be successful no matter what. At that point, then people would say, oh, that's good coaching by Stotts. But no, that'd just be more talent. The roster being weird is such a weird excuse to me because we completely changed all the things that a lot of people were complaining about. We have Tolliver, the three-point shooter in there. We have Rodney Hood, a scoring small forward three-point shooter. We have Bazemore, a guy who can handle the ball a bit like Evan Turner could, who could make plays for other people, but he can also knock down shots, and he's also a good defender. We have a guard off the bench who's a third scorer who's able to score the ball too. The roster is just not an excuse for us running around the arc and doing dribble handoff constantly, and our sets always bogging down into dribble handoffs. It doesn't matter what roster you have. NBA players should be able to run a set offense, and you should be able to create some sort of action like a UCLA screen. Our roster isn't holding us back from doing a UCLA screen. Our roster isn't holding us back from back cutting. Our roster isn't holding us back from setting back screens or setting cross screens for bigs to try and get them a good look in the paint. Our roster is not an excuse for the way our offense is structured.
Well, that's what is weird to me, if you want to talk about being weird, is we're not trying anything to get the guys in position to where they succeed other than Dame and CJ, which of course are our two best players, so you should do that. But why not run some plays for Hood, like you were saying, run some plays to get Tolliver an open three early, run some just at least a couple touches for Whiteside inside, and then go ISO. Once those guys are involved, then it opens up the floor for you, so it benefits everyone. I don't understand why we wouldn't structure the offense around trying to get guys going. And if the ball was moving and those guys were playing terrible right now, then I would completely agree with what Reed's saying. But I don't even know, because the ball's not even moving at all at offense. We had 19 assists again tonight, so below 20 again. We're just not passing the ball at all. I'm pretty sure we were last in the NBA in passes per game.
Yeah.
And
a lot of those passes are handoffs running around the 3-point line.
Yeah,
we're always bottom 5 in assists, and there's no reason we should be.
Yeah, I just wish if the ball was moving around and those guys were performing like they were tonight and not doing much, then I would be kind of worried about the roster being bad. But I honestly don't know how it fits, because it's the same. We're doing the same things we always do. We need Dame and CJ to score, or we don't have an offense. So
the thing is, people are saying, oh, it's only because we don't have Nurk, we don't have a center that can, pass like that. You're not a great coach if you need a setter who can get 4 assists per game to run an offense that's able to move the ball. I'm sorry, but if you have to rely on having a passing center like that to be able to run an offense that involves movement towards the hoop instead of around the 3-point line, then you're probably not the greatest coach. This is constructive criticism. Honestly, I'm not trying to hate on Stotts. I criticize Stotts because I think he can be a better coach, and honestly, I'm kind of vocal because I think that a lot of notable people on NBA Twitter, a lot of the radio guys, Chad Doing, Travis Demers, guys like that, I feel like they overrate Terry Stotts a little bit, and I feel like Pinwheel Empire was calling out people the other day, calling out people who criticize Stotts, but people don't really dive deep into the way the offense is ran. They don't dive deep into the sets that are being used. Last year, I charted sets for a couple games. I did game recaps for True Blazer Fan where I literally went through footage and broke down certain sets and studied where the movement was in our offense. I don't think that a lot of these people have done the same thing. So I feel like I'm educated on this, where I can truly say that we don't have a lot of movement towards the hoop. Why don't we have a cross screen for Whiteside? We could get him great touches inside by simply having a guy run across the court and screen for him and have Whiteside flash across the key. Maybe that's CJ. And maybe after CJ cross screens for Whiteside, you set a pin down for CJ, he flares to mid-range or something like that. A lot of it's just perimeter ball movement. It results in a lot of one-on-one. That's just the truth. And it's better when Nurkic is there because you can kind of throw the ball to Nurkic at the high post and guys can kind of cut around him. But you don't need a guy like that to have an offense that involves more ball movement, that involves more cuts to the rim, involves more action that gets guys moving towards the rim and possibly scoring off a pass while they're moving towards the rim or cutting. So I think that's the area I want to see Stotts improve in. Stotts has improved in other areas. He's switching up his defense more, so I'll give him that. I'll say that positive about him. That hasn't really been a complaint of mine, but the offense just doesn't look good.
Yeah. Well, going back to what you were saying about the center, there was that game where Whiteside had like 2 or 3 backdoor passes for lay-ins. So I know he's capable of doing that.
But you can backdoor cut out of freelance. I just want a structured offense that provides those opportunities.
What I'm saying is, like, I don't understand why we're not even giving players an opportunity to be in those situations, you know?
Yeah.
Like in the preseason, there was a couple times where Collins found Hazonia. They had a nice connection going on the back door. Like, I don't know why that's not a weapon. It's been a couple games since we've even made a backdoor cut, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing, is like our offense should not be struggling this much. And part of it is guys not hitting shots. See, that's the thing. The defense for this type of stuff we're saying, people always defend it by saying, oh, well, they're getting decent perimeter shots and they just weren't hitting shots. The thing is, if we're hitting perimeter shots, our offense is fine because we have a bunch of guys on the perimeter and we're able to get guys decent three-point looks on the perimeter. I'm simply saying we're not always going to be able to rely on hitting a bunch of jump shots, and when we're not hitting jump shots, we need to be able to run a structured offense to get us more quality looks inside to counteract the fact that we're not hitting jump shots. And that was the problem in the third quarter against the Spurs, and that was a little bit of the problem tonight because we didn't shoot too well tonight until late. Then we knocked down a bunch of threes. That was the main problem against the Spurs, is we just kept getting jumpers only, and we weren't able to run a structured offense to get anything inside. So Dame wasn't getting calls in that Spurs game either. I kind of wish I did a post-game live stream after that Spurs game. Dame wasn't getting calls driving 1-on-2, but that's just Dame creating something out of nothing and trying to just dribble downhill and create everything by himself out of nothing. That's not a structured offense. So that's kind of my main complaint early on in the season, because we're not shooting that well, but we're not able to do much offensively when we're not shooting well.
Yeah, we just had a 3-1 road trip and going home. If looks like we'll get to this in a minute, but Embiid might not be available on Saturday for Philadelphia.
Oh, that was awesome.
You want to talk about that now?
Yeah, let's talk about that now. So in case you guys didn't see, Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns got into a bit of a fight. And it's not like that typical NBA fight where they kind of shoved each other once or twice and then they went to their benches and the referees reviewed it for 10 minutes. It was an NBA fight where they actually went at it. Go find it on Twitter. I can't show the footage because then this stream will get copyright claimed by the NBA. So I wish I could show the footage. Maybe, you know what, in the future, I got my TV back there. Maybe I could connect that and show footage, get a bigger TV or make it closer where I could show footage on a TV. Maybe I wouldn't get copyright claimed. That might be something cool in the future when I have like my whole studio set up. But anyway, Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns went at it. It seemed like they threw punches. Their punches didn't really connect. They kind of, I don't know, like Karl Anthony Towns threw a punch and he kind of missed behind Embiid's head and then he ended up like hugging him. You know what I mean? But like they were going at it. They tackled each other to the floor. Ben Simmons jumped on top of Karl Anthony Towns at one point and was choking him. So Ben Simmons didn't get suspended for that, or didn't get ejected for that, which surprised me. Maybe Ben Simmons gets suspended too for a game for that chokehold he put on Towns, but probably not. But Embiid, and I'm pretty sure he threw a punch. There was a lot happening in a small space, but I'm pretty sure Embiid threw a punch. So if he did, that's a suspension right there, and that's a suspension for the game they play against us. So that would be a huge win for us if we didn't have to go against Embiid.
Yeah, do they have, I'm just checking to see if they play again between our game and their game.
They don't. Commentators said their next game was against Portland. That's what Calabro and Hurd said. They were talking about that on the air.
Yeah. 11-2, yep.
Ben Simmons should be out too. He choked the heck out of Karl. Yeah, he did. That was the best fight. That might be the best fight of the season. I saw that happen. It was like, okay, I like that. I like seeing that type of stuff. I like that fire and intensity. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't like to see that. I like to see that.
Yeah, I don't mind a little fight every now and then. I especially like it when like someone like say someone pushes Dame or does something, and then like you got someone standing up for him on the team. It's always good, like camaraderie when something like that happens.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the type. I don't know, man. That's the type of fight I could see Zach Collins getting in at some point this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's back. Hopefully he's back soon. Still waiting on the status for him. We'll talk about Zach Collins' absence more once his MRI is overlooked by Portland's medical staff. They're waiting on that. That might come out tomorrow because they're waiting for the team to get back to Portland. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. That could be a really bad sign. That could be a good sign. I have no idea. But we'll talk about more of the impact then. And we might talk about, maybe we have to fill that 15th roster spot. Maybe we go out and get Kenneth Faried. I got a video coming on that. I don't know. But, we're just kind of – I'm waiting on that to see how long Zach Collins is out.
Yeah, if he's out more than 2 weeks or so, he'd probably have to fill that roster spot unless Gasol's back sometime soon, but who knows with him.
Yeah, I thought he would be kind of almost back by now. We haven't had an update on Gasol. They're keeping things under wraps with Nurkic as well, so they're not really being communicative, the front office, with our injured bigs. So Whiteside went down tonight, and that was scary, but I could kind of tell the way it looked, that it was just a little slight hyperextension, which hurts when it happens, but usually it's fine after a little bit. If you've never hyperextended your leg, it's when you kind of something happens where your leg locks and it almost pushes just a little bit the wrong way. But it doesn't,
It's more just scary for a minute, and then you're like, oh wait, I'm fine. But you have to kind of play it up like it hurt,
Blazers Twitter was panicking. So many panic tweets that I don't blame them too, because of how many bigs we've lost in the past year. We're out Zach, we don't have Powell, Nurkic is hurt, and then it just seemed like, okay, well, Whiteside, that's the fourth guy to go. Who's next? You know what I mean? And so I don't blame them for panicking about that. It kind of scared me too, but I could also kind of tell, okay, that's probably just a hyperextension. So I wasn't too surprised they came back out there in the second half, and it didn't look to be bothering him at all.
We can't really afford an injury to him, though. It's probably the...
What do you mean? Moses Brown would start and drop 30 again.
Well, we'd have to call him up first, right?
The thing is, if Whiteside got hurt, Moses Brown would probably play a few minutes, honestly.
Yeah.
And he's probably not ready, but he's big, he's long. If he could, play against a bench unit and get some boards, and then Scow would get more minutes. I thought Scow was solid tonight. Not his best game, but Scow was solid. I just dropped that video on him playing a little bit more. Tolliver, I understand starting him, but I still think Scow should play a few more minutes than Tolliver. So I don't know. I'll open it up to your guys' questions. Haven't been paying attention to the chat too much.
I kind of wish Scout would get a little more aggressive.
I do too, man. When he was in high school, he was the #1 prospect. He was rated higher by some scouting services than Ben Simmons was, and I was a huge fan of Labissiere in high school. His turnaround from mid-range was literally automatic. The dude was so cash on that, and now it's he's scared to... Ew, dude, it was so much like Aldridge. And the thing is, his face-up game, he'd use that jump shot. He shot his mid-range jump shot enough and made it enough where guys were scared to let him shoot it. And he had a face-up game where he utilized that mid-range pump fake, would get guys on their toes, off their feet, and then he was really good driving middle. He'd be quick, decisive, get to that hook. Now it's he's scared to make a move. I just think if this dude had confidence, this dude could be an NBA starter. He has touch on the three-point shot. He hasn't even attempted a three. I think he might have attempted one opening night, but he hasn't looked for his three-point shot, even though he shot over 37% his rookie year. Small sample size, but he made 30 or 40 or something like that. And then last game of the season last year, he hit two. One was a step back, and now it's he's not even looking to shoot threes, and he's not being decisive, and he doesn't look for that turnaround at all, even though it was his bread and butter shot in high school. It's just this dude he has so much potential, but the mindset isn't there. I don't know.
Yeah, there's been a couple of plays this year, once in the first game against Denver and one tonight where he got the ball and had kind of a mismatch in the post, and he immediately passed out. Didn't even think about making a move or shooting or anything. It was hot potato pass out.
Yeah.
So Yeah, when the pick and roll isn't working well with our big men, which it hasn't been that great this year so far, like why not let him pop instead of roll a few times and see if he can knock down the outside shot.
Yeah.
And then if he hits a couple of those, then it opens up the whole middle for Dame to drive. Um, I mean, yeah, I just wish he'd get a little more aggressive because I felt like, especially those Whiteside's like this too. They can get their hook shots over anyone. So like they should just at least 3 to 5 times a game attempt one of those little baby hooks, and that gives us easy baskets, like 5 foot shots, you know?
Yeah, especially in a stretch where our offense is missing 12 jumpers in a row
Right.
and can't get anything but jumpers. Just find a way to get it down inside and try and get a shot inside. That's the thing with the Spurs game that drove me crazy. Run a cross screen for Scal coming across the paint, and maybe when he catches the ball, he has that hook shot where he has good enough position where he's able to turn and lay it in. That's part of my complaint that we talked about earlier with the way our offense is ran. So looking at the comment sections, WTF Main says Dame was 7 for 19 tonight, his worst game of the season. He had 13 assists, so his best, you got to value that playmaking. His playmaking was really good when nobody else on the team could create anything for anyone, where CJ was turning over the ball left and right and couldn't find Whiteside on a pass to save his life. Dame's playmaking was great this game, even though he didn't shoot the best, and Dame took over too when we needed him the most. Still waiting for Dame's first triple-double, 23, 13, and 7 tonight. He got close. He just doesn't chase rebounds like Westbrook. If he did, then he would have had 10 rebounds so far, or 10 triple-doubles so far in his career. He just doesn't chase rebounds like that.
Yeah. I think after the game, they said that this was like tied for the 4th or 5th most assists he's had in the game. So that was good. And that's what we like to see is if your shot's not falling, at least get other people involved. Yeah, CJ, 7 turnovers and 3 assists, not good.
Yeah.
He got that one in the second half where it like barely went over Noel's hands, but it got to Whiteside and he had an easy lay-in. But other than that, he was really struggling to get him the ball.
Yeah. Destrom says, wait, so on YouTube, it's the orange tag only if it's you being mentioned, right? I have no idea. I'm a YouTuber. I got no idea about that. Tommy Thompson, Tori, Eric, I'm averaging 53 3-pointers made out of 100 the past 2 months balling. That's dope, man. It'd be fun to play some pickup ball with some subscribers just so I could whoop all your guys' asses. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. Also,
just so you all know, Tori's cocky as hell when it comes to basketball.
I'm competitive. I'm not cocky, man. I'm competitive, bro. Like, I'm not the one out there talking trash.
I know.
You know what I mean? I'm competitive, though. Like, I play hard. I don't care what it is. If we're at the park, I hate losing, so I'm competitive.
I'm just saying, I guarantee you, anyone in the comment section who thinks you can beat Tori, he'll think, no, that's not possible. That's what my buddy.
Don't make me cocky by gassing me up too much, man. But that's true. I mean, like yeah, man. I played college ball, so if somebody wants to try and beat me 1-on-1, that'd be a cool like summertime video idea. So you could beat me 1-on-1. Whoever could beat me 1-on-1 would get $10, $50, $100. I don't know. That'd be a cool video idea for sure. I'm just looking through here for comments though. Do I think the Warriors will make the playoffs? Their defense is terrible. Their offense honestly isn't that much better. They got 2 players that can score. Honestly, right now it's iffy on whether or not they make the playoffs, but there's really not. I don't see a team in the Western Conference that would supplant them because Sacramento doesn't look too good and OKC has been iffy, so I don't know who would replace them. Some people might say Phoenix, but I think Phoenix is just one of those good early season storylines that's not going to keep it up. Yeah. Mavs looking nice. Mavs might be better than Golden State at this point. Mavs look solid.
Sorry, your audio is cutting out there.
Yeah, I think my internet. No, my thing was blinking. Mavs look good though. I tweeted out a box score theirs from yesterday where they had 9 players score between 10 and 14 points. I've never seen a box score like that.
It's pretty solid.
What is wrong with CJ though? What's his problem? He's not really hitting shots, and some of his decision making is kind of bad. But this is kind of the CJ. This is the bad side of CJ that's always kind of been there, so it's not something that's shocking to me.
Yeah, it's the same when he's not hitting shots. He doesn't really do much else. So
thoughts on Mario through these first few games? Is about what I expected. Honestly, his defense has been solid. He hasn't made many bad decisions, so he's kind of just fit in there, but he's not even averaging 1 assist per game. All these people were talking about him coming in and being this great passer, being able to create plays for other people, consistently get 4 or 5 assists per game. He's not even getting over an assist per game. So he's not, I don't know, he's not like that's the thing that I was saying before the season is people are basing him being a point forward that can make plays for others consistently off of 3 games at the end of last season, and 2 of them were basically against G League rosters. The thing is, him against G League players, he has enough ball handling and quickness to be able to consistently beat them off the dribble in the half court. Against NBA players though, legit NBA players, he doesn't quite have the ball handling and the quickness ability to be able to beat guys in the half court, and therefore he's not able to break down the defense and make some of these passes. It has to be in transition. And the bench right now is kind of struggling to get out in transition, so he's not having much of an impact as a playmaker. I don't know if you see the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like so he's getting especially when he plays the power forward, he's getting in situations where he gets the ball up top and he's got kind of a power forward up on him and he can get by him or get somewhat decent shot. But he's just looking to shoot in those situations, and it's kind of weird. If he was going to be like a point forward, he should be looking to create off those moves more. The couple times he's thrown up some really bad layups that don't even hit the rim or whatever.
It's kind of just like he gets downhill enough where he's just like, screw it, I'm going to throw this up even though I know it's not going in. I'm already out of control, so let's just throw this around the rim.
Much like CJ, if he starts to learn how to use that creation skills to get shots for others instead of himself, I think he'd be okay. But one thing I have been pleasantly surprised with him is I think his defense has been pretty solid.
It has been. I didn't think he was quite that good of a defender. And maybe he's not. Maybe he's just overachieving on that end. But he has been a solid defender. That bench unit's defense has been good, in my opinion. So
that's the only thing that's keeping them okay right now when they're struggling shooting is that they're doing it on the defensive end too. So like, no team really ever gets too far ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we got to figure something out.
Yeah.
The ball just needs to move more.
For sure. I'm trying to keep up with the comment section here. Tommy Thompson asked a question about if Detroit becomes what they want to be. If Detroit doesn't become what they want to be, what do you think about Hassan, something for Drummond and D Rose? I'm not going to answer that. Ask that in the mailbag. I'll answer that in like a trade talk video, just because I'm trying to keep up with this comment section, and I'll just turn that into a video. Tori U. Duncan says, WTF, Maine. I'm dunking on a good day. My knees are iffy, though. They're inconsistent. They're as inconsistent as CJ's shot. Top Cat Guy says, I'm just glad Ant is getting more playtime. Ant looked impressive. His defense looked good today. Anthony's defense has improved this season already.
Don't tell WTF, man, that he was bashing Simons at the beginning of this chat.
Simon's defense the first couple of games of the year was bad. Like, he was getting lost. But like, his one-on-one defense today, he had a great defensive possession against Terrence Ferguson. He got the ball in transition and kicked the ball out to CJ. There was a couple other times where he stifled Chris Paul on the perimeter, which is impressive. His defense is improving game by game. You can see noticeable improvement almost every time he's out there. And I think Anthony could be a decent defender at the guard position. I think he could be a better defender than Dame or CJ because he has the energy, he has the lateral quickness, and he just seems to like want to try his hardest to defend on that end. Not saying, Dame and CJ don't care, but like he seems to like really want to just expend a bunch of energy trying to lock guys up.
Yeah. I think his main problem right now is off the ball. When he gets run off picks, he's getting totally lost off the ball. But yeah, if he can just find a way, like they should almost do it to where he always guards the person with the ball coming up the court. That way he won't get lost on the backside, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of hard to do, especially since part of our problem on defense has been like people don't seem to know who they're guarding sometimes, and then we get lost in transition, and it's a little chaotic. But yeah, I don't think Simons has done anything wrong, and
He looked
anything he is doing wrong right now, you just got to kind of let him figure that out, I think. And um, like you said, he's already improving in just 5 games. So I can't imagine, 82 games into the season, come playoff time, how much he's going to improve. I mean,
yeah.
this experience is invaluable right now, I think.
In a game like tonight, I wish Terry would have played Anthony during the fourth quarter stretch run than CJ, with the way that CJ was playing offensively, being loose with the ball, not hitting shots, and with the way Anthony was defending, and Anthony made a play for CJ that was a great kick out to CJ for a wide open three. I think Anthony played a better style of basketball. He just didn't play as much as CJ to put up the numbers that CJ did. I would have rather.
Yeah.
I don't want Terry to be too scared to play Anthony when Anthony is playing better than CJ, because Terry might be too scared because CJ's the starting backcourt guy and Anthony's the young gun, 20-year-old second-year player. If Anthony's out playing CJ for a game and it's against a team that's kind of mediocre, let Anthony get some stretch run. That's going to be good for his development, and it might be better for the team in that game.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, though.
Oh, I know, it's sad. So
Nurk would get benched in that situation. Whiteside will get benched in that situation. Scal will get benched in that situation, but not CJ or Dame.
Brian Scalabrini says, "Hey Tori, any tips for experience when you were a freshman playing high school ball? Just be confident, man. Like, I was the best scorer in my class freshman year, but I didn't play like it just because I didn't have a ton of confidence. Just kind of just try and figure out when you should be aggressive and when you should just play within the offense, if that makes sense, because I would defer a lot when I had an opportunity to score. I'd pass it up, even though I was probably the best scorer on my freshman level team my freshman year. And then also just work on stuff, man. Like, you're going to be more confident in the game. You're going to be more prepared if you know that you put in the work in, if you know you're outworking your opposition. So put in the work, and that'll help you out.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So do a couple things. One, be the guy who does the little things and is always hustling and try to earn your minutes that way. And two, without the coaches saying anything, ask if you can stay late and shoot free throws or just do something in the gym, work on something afterwards. Coaches will like that you're putting in extra work and stuff like that. If there comes a point in the season where the coach is like, hey, no one ever stays extra or something, then it'll be too late. But if you do that before anyone says anything, then it looks like you're really trying hard, and you'll get some respect that way.
Yeah, 100%. So scrolling through the comments, I'm looking for questions. I might miss your question. Let me see. Let me know if you see anything you want to answer.
Yeah, I don't think Simons is playing scared. I mean,
he was aggressive tonight, I think.
He's 20 years old. I don't think he ever really gets scared on offense, except for when he misses a couple shots. Then he can be tentative sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Austin Wax says coach is scared because he has way too much talent and he doesn't know how to split time. Stotts defenders would say he doesn't have enough talent, which I definitely don't think is the case, because that's, Anthony's talented, man, and sometimes he's gonna. The thing is, he might not be doing much, but just deferring at the right time and making the right decisions and playing solid defense, that might be better than CJ in a game, because CJ is prone to forcing some tough shots and turning the ball over and not playing good defense. So sometimes Anthony is just more solid during a game, so give him that stretch run. Anthony can hit wide open threes too. CJ had a couple. He had at least one open three that he knocked down in the stretch run, but Anthony can hit that shot too. So it's nothing that you really sacrifice. Anthony is probably more likely to look for Dame than CJ, just because Anthony's the young guy.
Yeah, there was a couple examples of Simons passing tonight, but he can kind of get locked on his own shot at times too.
First, Pete, what were you saying?
I was just saying he can get kind of locked on his shot too, but
Destrom says, sorry, I don't.
It's okay.
Did you have anything left to say?
No, go ahead.
All right. ET was only used good on our team. Don't care what you say, Tori. That's from Destrom. If ET was only used good on our team, then he wouldn't have been then the team wouldn't have been getting outscored like 10 points per 100 possessions or whatever it was when ET was on the court. ET's net rating per 100 possessions was much worse than any other Blazer, so you can't blame the unit either, because the same units that ET was playing with without Evan Turner did a lot better because they didn't have Evan Turner on the court. Evan Turner was not good for this team. I'd much rather have Mario Hezonja, who's a guy that I'm not, super high on, and a lot of people were giving me crap for that. I'd much rather have Hezonja than Evan Turner. Evan Turner's brutal. Definitely don't agree with you on that one.
So someone's asked if we overpaid for CJ. I don't think so. I was a little puzzled by giving him an extension this summer with 2 years left on his deal. But, they're feeling good this summer coming off the Western Conference Finals. They gave pretty much everyone who was involved an extension that stayed.
And look at what other guys are getting paid, too. Jaylen Brown's contract, Domantas Sabonis' contract. You look at what other guys are getting paid who aren't as good as CJ. They're still getting paid near CJ numbers. That shows you that we didn't overpay because the market is paying lesser guys near the same salary. A little bit less, too, but CJ, whether a guy is overpaid or not depends on the market. You know what I mean? It doesn't depend on what you feel like they're worth. It depends on the market, because you have to pay guys what they're worth, or else other teams on the market are going to take them and pay them, pay them more. So it depends on what the market dictates.
And we need CJ. I mean, he's a big part of the team. We're not saying what we're saying because we think CJ's a bum and shouldn't be on the team.
I mean, that Dallas game, he had 35 points. He was a great scorer and didn't make many mistakes and was terrific. You know what I mean? You get some really, really amazing games from CJ, and you get some games where he does not play a good style basketball. Sometimes he doesn't play a good style basketball, and he still helps because he knocks down so many shots. And pointing out that he didn't play a good style basketball doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't play well or didn't make shots. So that's just kind of how I view CJ in his situation.
It's tough when you're that good of a scorer. Sometimes it's like, even if you miss 5 in a row, it's still a good shot. But then sometimes I'm like, just dial it back a little bit. And like I just talked about before with Hezonja, CJ can get to that elbow area anytime he wants. And every time he does, he draws an extra defender, at least one, if not two. And someone's open in those situations. If he just learns to use that ball handling to create shots for others, he could be a really unstoppable force. And then players start to help less, and then those jumpers are a little more open instead of having 3 guys collapse on you. And I don't know. I just think if he dialed it back just a little bit and only took over when it was necessary. And I said this earlier too, like, wait till further in the shot clock. You don't have to do your moves right off the bat or right when you cross half court. You can run the offense and then get your shots anytime.
Yeah. 100% agree with that. Brian Scalabrini says, thoughts on Myers' first block of the season? That was pretty quick for Myers to get a block in October. Congratulations. He had 3 blocks?
In a game, yeah. 1 game.
I'm going to have to look up some Myers Leonard highlights. Hopefully I can find him blocking shots, because I can't imagine Myers Leonard having 3 blocks in a game. I
think those are his only 3 blocks of the season, but...
Yeah, well, he doesn't block shots, man. Like, Dame blocks more shots. Dame blocks shots at a higher rate than Myers, man. Like...
I want to say he had 9 all last year, and like only
the year
1 or 2.
before he didn't have any in like 300 minutes played or something crazy. It's like you're 7-1 in athletic. How do you not block more shots? Maybe CJ's in a funk because the Browns sucked this year. The Browns suck every year, so CJ got to figure it out.
The hype was real this year, though.
Oh, I know. And then my Niners absolutely crushed. Our Niners absolutely crushed him. Yeah, that's 7-0. Let's go. Yeah, so how much are we losing when Zach isn't playing? We're losing a bit. It kind of messes up our rotation. Zach's obviously better than Anthony Tolliver. We're missing that matchup advantage we have against smaller power forwards. I think Zach could have gotten some buckets in the low post against Gallinari. We're missing that rim protection. So, I mean, definitely hurts not having Zach, but we should still be able to win a lot of the games that we end up playing. We still should win games like we won tonight. We still should win games. We still should be able to beat San Antonio. That was a game where if you erase that awful third quarter, and we definitely win that game. So we're missing him, but it's not something that completely screws the team over, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, we've been close on our 2 losses, but we've also been close to losing 2 of our wins. So um, it's frustrating because we should be better than 3-2 right now, but still, like we talked about all off season, the first 20 games.
Yeah. The Under Armour gamer, I blocked him on Twitter. I'm gonna have to block him on here too. Watching Blazers Best Post Game Show, Blazers Outsiders. Yeah, you're in my comment section. That's the dude who quit my free fantasy basketball league, where the winner could get tickets because he didn't like the way scoring was tweaked. He called it stupid or something. Now he's in here trashing my post game show. Yeah, you don't have to be in here, bro. I don't need that. he messaged you.
You blocked him.
Yeah, man, like he came at me like saying, I don't care if I offend you, your league's stupid. It's like it's a free league where I'm probably going to put my own money into the league to buy the winner playoff tickets if it's one of the supporters of the channel. And he's sitting here calling it stupid and how he's out and how he's super annoyed at me and stuff. Are you kidding me?
Give Destrom his team. He wanted to be in it from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, Destrom. You can have his team, man, and if you win, you get free playoff tickets, or it might be free end of the season tickets, or it might be some Blazers swag. I don't know. I want to give the winner something though, so I'll give you that team. Just DM. Do you got Twitter? Because if you DM me on Twitter, I can give you the link for that. Because the dude completely left his team. So I just thought it was funny that he came in here saying, "I'm watching Blazers Outsiders." Like, cool, bro. I don't care. Like, go ahead. More people are watching Blazers Outsiders than this. I'm not tripping.
Yeah. So I caught Blazers Outsiders after one of the recent 2 games, and half the show was them breaking down the after quarter and halftime entertainments of the game, and not even
some people. It's 2 different types of post game shows. We're a lot more like analytical, and we have like the live chat going that we talk with on air. We don't have commercials, you know what I mean? Like, it's 2 different types of post-game shows. Some people would want to watch a post-game show where they're talking about halftime entertainment, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's not me, but some people want that. So I'm not gonna hate on that. I'm not trying to start beef. I'm not gonna disrespect other people that make content, because it's a hard job, and some people like Blazers Outsiders instead of like us talking about like the way our offense is structured.
Yeah, fine.
That's completely fine. Like, I'm not, he came in here thinking that he was going to hurt me with that. Nah, man, like, that's...
I don't know. He was a good contributor to the post games in the past, so it's a shame that he had to start beef over something so stupid.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know, man. That's rough, dude. Yeah, I'm not even gonna talk about this Blazers Outsider stuff anymore. Yeah. There's not much more left to say on it. Evan Turner probably averages -4 fantasy points per game, probably. Let's get into some NBA action actually before we wrap up this post game show. Because
speaking of that, Decline saying, "Did you peep the halftime score?" Yeah, the Warriors cut it to 26. They were down more than that.
They were down. I thought they maybe turned it around.
No.
James Harden scored 59 points.
Well, that game was 159 to 158 in regulation, so.
Okay, so let's go through some final. Damn, we got a lot of games tonight. Okay. Rockets 159, 150. Okay, dang. Okay.
That wasn't even overtime either.
Yeah, I saw the score. Wow, dude. Rockets had 48 in the 4th quarter. Wizards had over 40 points in the second, third, and 4th quarter. That's the Wizards. So let's look at this. Let's look at this box score. James Harden, 59 points, 9 assists, 18 for 32 shooting from the field, 6 for 14 from 3. Russell Westbrook, triple-double, 7 for 16 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, 17 points. He was like 1 for 10, so I guess he made his last 6 shots. Clint Capella, 21. Bradley Beal had 46 points on only 20 shots.
Jeez.
My guy Rui Hachimura, 36 minutes played, had 23 points, 3 for 3 from 3. That was, a bit of a question mark with him coming into the league. My dude's shooting the ball, though. We talked about the Wizards possibly having the worst bench in the NBA. Their bench, let me add up how many points their bench had, because their bench had a ton of points. They only played 9 guys off the bench. It was Wagner, Bertans, Isaiah Thomas, and Troy Brown Jr.
All double figures.
31, 52, 64 points from those four guys off the bench. Jordan McRae did not play with mallet finger. What is mallet finger? I've never heard of mallet finger. Can chat tell me what mallet finger is?
The only thing I think of is if it like got swollen because it got hit or something. It was.
Yeah. Going back to the comment section real quick, WTF Main says the league is good for the community. Yeah, it's just a little bit of fun. Some people might not like the setup of the league. You know, I'm kind of like trying like a weekly matchup so guys don't forget to set their lineups, because that's definitely a thing. You forget to set your lineup one day and that could lose you the entire game. So just wanted to try like weekly setup, and it's not for money or anything, so it's not a huge deal. It's just some little fun thing for you guys. We'll talk about the Suns on our Friday podcast too, for sure, because that's definitely a hot topic in the league. We'll get to their score in a second. I'm going from the bottom here. Pacers beat the Nets 118-108. That was the Pacers' first win of the season. They've been struggling. Jeremy Lamb 25, Malcolm Brogdon 21, Sabonis 29, TJ Warren 20. Outside of that, didn't get much help. Miles Turner went down with an injury. Kyrie had 28, 7, and 6 for the Nets, so that's good for our fantasy team. Karis LeVert had 15, but he missed 12 shots, so that's not so good for our fantasy team.
Speaking of Kyrie, did you see the Nets are already having issues with him?
Yeah, and then they were refuting all those reports. That's New York media for you, man. I don't even know if I believe that at all, because they refuted that. And, I mean, the dude, might have some anxiety, might have, that's the thing. We applaud DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love for coming out and speaking about their mental health issues, but Kyrie is described as has a mood swing or something, and people are just absolutely blasting him for it. And it's like, he's probably, has some mental health things that he needs to figure out. He's probably not the healthiest mentally, might suffer from depression or anxiety or something, you know what I mean? So I see that, and my immediate reaction isn't to blast the guy oh, that guy's probably so moody and burning down bridges, can't be happy. Mental health is a thing. So I don't know. I didn't like reading the comments to that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I really took from that, you might be right, but I'm just so glad we have Dame.
Yeah, I mean, you want your leader to be a guy who's even keeled and able to lead the team from that. Oh, Nationals won the World Series. If you were waiting, okay, I forgot that was on tonight. Let's go. Actually, I was hoping Washington would win it. Congrats to the Nationals. If you DVR'd the game or something, I apologize for spoiling it, but I figure you would probably be watching it right now. Anyways, if you were, super interested. So Boston beat Milwaukee. Did you want to talk about baseball for a second? Because I was just going to segue back to basketball.
Last I saw, the Astros were winning, but yeah.
6-2 Nationals, so they must have clutched up. That's cool. It's always cool to see a team that's never been to the World Series win the World Series. Now the Mariners are the last team. My Mariners, if only they could do the same thing, so I could finally have one of my teams in one sport win a championship, because I can't even imagine what that would feel like. I wasn't alive for my Niners runs, so yeah. That'd be my NASCAR driver won a championship once. That's my only taste of a championship. Gonzaga lost in the finals against in the championship game against North Carolina. That was heartbreaking. That was the most heartbreaking loss possibly of my entire life. That was worse than any Blazers loss, dude. That was tough. Yeah. Raptors beat the Pistons. Magic beat the Knicks. Cavs beat the Bulls. Colin Sexton had a poster dunk over Wendell Carter Jr. in the last minute. Sixers blew out the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves were 3-0, but they hadn't really played anybody good. They go to Philadelphia and get the doors blasted off, and Karl Anthony Towns gets choked out by Ben Simmons. So not a good night for the Timberwolves. Gonna check out how our former Blazers did, though. You had Vonleh getting 2 points. Layman getting 6 points on 3 for 6 shooting, 3 rebounds. So okay game. Shabazz had 13 and 25, or 13 points in 25 minutes off the bench. Yeah, not that interesting of a game. Here we got the Suns beating out the Golden State Warriors. This is probably what all you guys were waiting for me to talk about this. Devin Booker, 17. Aaron Baines, 17. Aaron Baines has been phenomenal for them. He's getting over 10 points per game in 20 minutes a game. He's hitting threes now. He's 2 for 6 from three. He has 6 assists, 7 rebounds. 17 minutes. He has 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists.
All those Twitter accounts where Baines is like the GOAT, you know?
Dude, I want to
right.
see. That's the triple double I want to see, man. He just got his 8th rebound. 8 minutes left in the third quarter. He needs 2 more rebounds and 4 more assists for a triple double.
That would break Twitter, man.
That would be fantastic, man. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Dude, Aaron Baines is like the epitome of how the modern day NBA center has evolved into, like, now you have a lot more centers that can pass the ball, a lot more centers that can shoot threes. Aaron Baines came into the league for the San Antonio Spurs and was nothing more than a guy who could play like solid positional defense and maybe make a layup if he got lucky. Like, he wasn't that's literally all he was. And now the dude's hitting threes and dishing the ball, and that's insane. He's one of the NBA's like badasses, fan favorite across the league.
Right. That was one of those guys where if we needed a cheap big to trade for, would be interesting. But I mean, if Phoenix keeps playing well, it's going to be. I don't think they'll trade him.
I think their defense has overachieved a bit. Let's look at the Warriors though, because you had D'Angelo Russell 5 for 10 not off the bench. D'Angelo Russell is a negative 29, 5 for 10 from the field. The thing is, he has
negative 31.
I just don't know how they're so bad. Like, their defense, I guess, their defense isn't good, and that's what I was assuming was going to be the issue when you're starting 2 guys in the backcourt, like Curry and Russell, not good defenders, and then you don't have I think Curry and Russell are a much worse defensive duo than Lillard and McCollum, in my opinion. But then they don't have a rim protecting center right now. Cauley Stein only played 4 minutes, has 0 points. You would think that would be their best rim protector, but they're not starting him. They're only playing him 4 minutes. Maybe he got hurt, but I don't know, man.
Yeah, Looney's hurt right now too.
I don't know why they wouldn't play Cauley Stein more or start him. They're starting Eric Paschall. Is it Paschall or Paschal? How do you say his name?
I think it's Paschal.
Paschal.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah,
you're the pronunciation dude.
Yeah, I know pretty much everything, but yeah, I don't know. I'll have to learn that one. But he's 5 for 5 in 21 minutes. That's looking like a good second round pick, a guy that can play. He has 21 points. Where did I see 21? He has 10 points, 5 for 5 shooting. He's been good for them. He's been their arguably 4th best player.
Like we talked about in the offseason, and you've mentioned several times, I bet they can't wait for December 15th when D'Angelo Russell's eligible to be traded.
Oh, they're shipping him. They're gonna ship him off for depth, because you'll have. They're gonna ship him off for like Covington and maybe try and involve a third team and get back pieces from elsewhere. I feel like Minnesota and more. That's the thing, Minnesota. Okay, I gotta preface this with this. There was that article that came out about Booker, Towns, and D'Angelo Russell. You know, they're all really, really good friends. Right. They all want to play together in the future. I shouldn't guarantee this, but I feel like Minnesota is going to go so hard after D'Angelo Russell, and then I think Devin Booker comes off his becomes an unrestricted free agent when Andrew Wiggins does, or maybe the year after Andrew Wiggins does, and I feel like they're going to try and land Devin Booker because they're going to have Towns. They'd have D'Angelo Russell if they trade for him, and then they try and get Booker. I feel like that's their long-term plan here. Robert Covington would be a solid fit, a guy who can defend. They need a guy like that. Their defense sucks. Minnesota would have to give up picks, and maybe Golden State would use those picks to trade for additional help. And then once you have Klay Thompson come back, you have Curry, Klay Thompson, Robert Covington, Draymond Green, and then maybe they acquire a center from somewhere. That defense would be a lot better since you have Covington and Thompson back. I feel like that's going to happen, man. That's my bold prediction for a trade. I feel like that's going to happen because right now that team's going to shake something up. That's going to be very interesting to watch because this Golden State team sucks. I did not expect them to suck. They suck.
Yeah. I still feel like they're going to turn it around in a little bit. All those G League guys that people keep saying they've never heard of, there's some talented guys in that group. I
Not
don't know.
NBA talent though. Like Poole, he was a reach at 28.
Yeah, we both were high on that, but
I didn't think he was going to get drafted. Spellman is iffy. He's not a good NBA player. Damian Lee, Alec Burks has never been good. Just a bunch of guys who don't do anything. And none of those guys defend well either. That's the other thing. Is like
true.
if you got G League guys coming off the bench, at least have guys that can defend, you know, get a Shaquille Harrison, a guy who's not that great offensively, but he can defend. They don't got defenders. That's brutal, man.
When Golden State was at its peak, like with Bogut and Green, those are two of the best help defenders in the league, and they always knew where each other was on the backside. And yeah, it was really hard to penetrate that offense, or that defense.
Yeah, Golden State is tanking
for that guy.
Yeah, WTF man, Golden State is tanking for the draft. I've been in the ESPN box scores. Brian Scalabrine says Stephen Curry heads to the locker room with what appears to be a left hand injury and doesn't shoot his free throws. Mark Stein. Wow. Okay. That's the type of team I could see
pulling a Spurs from 1997.
Yeah, or like this of course the year that Stephen Curry gets hurt is the year they're going to suck anyway. The year they already don't have Klay Thompson, they tank, somehow find the number 1 pick, then they draft James Wiseman, who's like the next Anthony Davis. Then Klay Thompson is back next year, and they have like the next Anthony Davis is their starting center with Draymond and Klay and Steph Curry, and then they're the best team in the West again.
Yep.
And then they trade D'Angelo Russell for Covington and like a bunch of other pieces too. Like, I feel like that's what's them. I don't know, man.
It's like
I don't even want to say it, but
I want to say I forgot how old David Robinson was when I'm trying to think of like the timeline between David Robinson and Duncan versus like Curry and Green if they added a top pick like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing for my like trade videos in the future. My trade, because I want to start like a trade talk Tuesday. You guys can come up with trade ideas for other teams. I'll talk about them as well, because we discuss the same options for the Blazers over and over and over again. Right. I don't want my content to get too repetitive, answering the same questions over and over and over again. So we can talk about other teams. I'm an NBA fan this year because of how competitive it should be. So yeah.
Wampet Gaming is asking if you like D'Angelo as a player.
I've always thought he was overrated. Not that efficient. Not a good playmaker for a point guard. Doesn't defend well. That's like my three cardinal. That's my 3 signs of an overrated player. All right, people base it too much off of scoring. It's like kind of the Andrew Wiggins thing. Andrew Wiggins gets 20 points per game, but he doesn't do it efficiently. He doesn't make plays for others. He doesn't defend. And then like the fourth one kind of off the side, he doesn't rebound that well either. So those are kind of like some signs that a player is overrated. You got to look at efficiency. The thing is, if somebody gets 20 points per game and he isn't efficient with it, you'd have better luck with with average NBA players just running a team offense. The average NBA team offense being more efficient than a 20-point per game scorer shows you that the 20-point per game scorer isn't helping his team by scoring 20 points per game, if that makes sense. So efficiency matters, man. I've always been high on, efficiency being a good gauge to a good score.
So both you and I thought that was like the weirdest trade ever. I understand them wanting to get something in return. So I think that was kind of smart.
It's smart because it's an asset that you can flip later. It's not smart because it's not a good fit. It's not going to help them win games now. It's an asset that you can flip because there's going to be a team out there that overvalues them. It might be the Timberwolves. If you can get Robert Covington and 2 future firsts from the Timberwolves for D'Angelo Russell, that's assets you wouldn't have had if you just if you didn't trade for D'Angelo Russell in the first place. And a Robert Covington would fit perfectly in with that offense, a guy who's a 3-and-D guy. So it's a good move in the future. Right now, it's not looking good though.
If Curry's out for any time, that might be the worst team in the league without Curry.
Yeah. I also wonder how Draymond's going to take. I wonder if he's going to kind of blow up. I've heard whispers before about how Golden State wouldn't be hesitant to move Draymond Green. Like I don't know, he's the type of guy that kind of wears on your front office, wears on your team, and it's only something that you can easily handle if you're winning championships. When the team like that starts struggling, you see those type of guys get shipped out of town. Now, maybe because of Golden State waiting for Klay Thompson and still feeling like he'll be a championship contender with Klay Thompson, maybe they wait, but Draymond Green could be one of those guys where you hear no rumors about him, and then all of a sudden he's being traded at the trade deadline to a team like just a random team that wants a playmaking for trying to contend, a team like Indiana or a team like I don't know, man. Like, I don't even know. It would be like, I feel like there's a chance he gets traded to just a random destination at the deadline.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if they did that. I think all those guys re-signing this summer though kind of put that to bed a little bit. I kind of like Russell in a situation like he was on last year, like a good young team where he is kind of like taking over the offense. I don't love him, but I thought he was decent last year. I thought the Nets made a huge mistake switching to Kyrie, and I understand getting Durant next year will be.
I don't think
good,
it was a mistake because you don't get Durant if you don't get Kyrie.
Well, so, yeah, I'm saying I understand that whole aspect of it, but just.
And Kyrie's the better player. I think it was the right move. Kyrie's a better player than D'Angelo for sure. He's iffy as like a leader, but like you're probably looking at KD being your leader. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. You just need guys around them in the locker room that don't really need like a leader to look to in a way. You know what I mean? Like Spencer Dinwiddie's kind of a leader, and if you have like a veteran team that all knows how to play, I think you'll be fine. With KD and Kyrie as your two guys who are your leaders. I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch that dynamic in that locker room.
Yeah, I guess can't really say until next year, but
for sure. Sacramento sucks. They're losing to Charlotte in Sacramento. They're losing to Charlotte by 14 with 4 minutes left. They're about to go 0-5. That was kind of a sleeper playoff team. They have not been able to defend. I don't understand why this team is so bad right now.
Yeah, they shouldn't be this bad. I mean, Bagley going down really hurt. They were playing pretty well in the first game until he got hurt, and then they got blown out in the second half. So that's when they don't have much big man depth. Losing him really hurt. But yeah, we both weren't high on their offseason moves. Ariza's looked basically done.
You said we were high on their offseason moves?
No, we weren't high on their either.
Weren't high. Okay, I was going to say, yeah, their offseason moves sucked. Ariza is 3 points in 21 minutes, 1 for 4. Dwayne Dedmon, 4 minutes, 0 points. I think he might have gotten hurt. Corey Joseph is a mediocre player. He has 5 points in 12 minutes. They're not even really playing these guys. These guys are coming off the bench, and they're overpaying them. They should have kept their flexibility instead of giving these contracts out. That was a horrible offseason. They need ownership. They need new ownership or something. Didn't they just sell the team to new ownership though, like a couple of years ago?
I think it was probably about. Well, what year was the Stauskas draft? 2013.
Yes.
No, 20. Might have been 2014.
2014, I think. 2013, 2014, sometime in there.
It was like a year or two before that because the Maloofs owned it before, and now it's that Vivek Ranadive guy.
I don't know, man. I would have loved to. I would love to become that GM because I would do a better job than that. That's the thing, man. I see some of these NBA GMs do obviously horrible moves, and it's just like, would I really struggle as an NBA GM? Because I know my CBA, I know my players. Like, I'm pretty familiar with the NBA players. I mean, I know there's like a lot to that job that people don't really understand, a lot of like business things and stuff like that. But dude, I would have done a better, like Sacramento could not have had a worse offseason. If they did nothing, if they did literally nothing, it would have been a much better offseason than they had last offseason. So you could put a 2-year-old as their GM this past offseason, would have done literally a better job because the 2-year-old would have done nothing.
And yeah, I'm just thinking right now how many different players they could have probably taken just by absorbing their contract if they kept that salary heading into the season, and probably picked up some picks or something too.
Yeah.
But they just got they finished 9th last year, and they thought they were on the cusp, and they thought adding a couple veterans would be the difference. But they were a lot further away than they thought they were, I guess.
Yep. So I just went back to chat off of box scores. By the way, Utah's beating the Clippers by 20, but the Clippers are playing without Kawhi. They're not that good of a team without Kawhi. So I just went back to to the chat here. Somehow,
Oh,
we've AM production starting. I don't know. I assume there's been a lot of trade talk because they're talking about a starting lineup of Dame, CJ Gallinari, Blake Griffin, and Nurkic. Give me Otto Porter Jr. instead of Gallinari if we're gonna go that route. You could trade Bazemore and like a couple filler pieces to match salary for Otto Porter Jr. And then you have Rodney Hood off the bench. That's kind of my pipe dream is to get Blake and Otto Porter Jr. and then have Rodney Hood coming off the bench with Anthony.
I think he's talking about picking up Gallinari as a free agent next summer.
How we wouldn't have the cap space if we had Griffin. We wouldn't really have the cap space anyway to get Gallinari. He's going to make more than the mid-level exception. We'd have to do a sign and trade, but we don't really have a salary that is tradable in the offseason next season because our two big salaries that we would trade, which is Whiteside and Bazemore, they're going to be expiring, so we're not going to be able to trade them because they'll be free agents. So Gallinari we'd have to trade for.
Real quick, so Draymond Green's not eligible to be traded till February 3rd, which is just a couple of days before the deadline. So it could happen, but they can't trade him until the deadline because he signed that same extension that CJ signed. And CJ is not actually able to be traded till January 30th either. Okay. Not that that's going to happen, but
yeah, people be asking me like, should we trade CJ soon?
Yeah,
there's your answer. We can't. Which
yeah.
I don't think we should anyway. I'm not going to talk about CJ trades at all this year. Last year that was like a main topic. This year I'm not going to talk about that stuff. I'm going to try and be like more selective, because like we're obviously not going to trade CJ, so why even talk about it honestly?
Yeah.
But like we could trade for a Gallinari or Otto Porter Jr. involving Bazemore and like Trent and Labissiere, and then we could still trade Whiteside for Blake Griffin. Obviously like the assets we connect to them, we'd have to connect assets to both deals. But that's the pipe dream is to get Otto Porter Jr. and Blake Griffin. I think we'd be maybe the best team I think we could rival the Clippers for best team in the West if we had those two guys. Man, I don't know. That's the dream lineup. Because then Rodney Hood comes off the bench. Trading for those two guys improves our lineup. It works really well positionally because you trade Bazemore for Otto Porter Jr. That's a wing for a wing. Then you trade Whiteside for Blake Griffin because you have Nurkic coming back. That's a big for a big. If you keep Collins as that third big off the bench, you'd move Hood and Collins to the bench. Because of the upgrades in the starting lineup, our bench would be phenomenal. You have Simons hitting his stride late in the year. You have Rodney Hood, and then you have Collins, and who knows who the power forward is. It could be a good player that we pick up on the buyout market who wants to play for a contender. And if we get Blake Griffin and Otto Porter Jr., we definitely have a really good chance of getting the top player on the buyout market. That's the pipe dream, honestly.
Would you rather do that than Whiteside for Covington and Zhang?
Yes, because we'd have to trade Whiteside for Griffin to get Griffin.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be like Bazemore for Covington and Zhang, which we'd have to attach assets to. So basically it's like Bazemore for Otto Porter Jr. or Bazemore for Covington and Zhang. We'd have to attach stuff to Bazemore. But I'd rather have Otto Porter Jr. than Covington and Zhang, even if we had to give up a pick, because I think if we're making moves like that, we are trying to make our team as good as possible to win a championship this year. So whatever move makes us as good as possible this year, I'm doing, which will be Otto Porter Jr.
Those two moves would both help us in at least next year too, because Porter still has another year on his deal unless opts out stupidly. But
and the thing is, if we can keep. I like that Griffin risk if we can keep Collins, because if Griffin gets hurt, you put Collins in there. Collins can hold his own and be like a better defender than Griffin. Collins can, I don't know, we would still be a contending team if we had an Otto Porter Jr. and a Blake Griffin, even if Blake Griffin got hurt, because we'd have that great third big to step in place for Blake Griffin. And then Pau Gasol would probably see more minutes where he wouldn't before that. You know what I mean? Like we'd have the depth to be able to handle a Blake Griffin injury. We'd have the star power.
So it's weird right now because Griffin is obviously pretty hurt if he's not playing at the beginning of the season, and then Porter's struggling really bad. So it might be a situation where those guys are available, but it's kind of risky too. But I think you got to pull the trigger if you do have that available.
100%. I kind of want to do a 2K episode doing that. I think I might have already done that. Those are too hard to edit anyway.
The more Porter struggles, the more we could probably do it without attaching
Yeah,
assets
and it's
with
like,
Chicago.
yeah, he's struggling, but he's been a good player for long enough where it's like you know that he's underachieving and you know that he's a better player than how he's playing. But
Right.
like you said, that could work in our favor. Blake Griffin being hurt this year, Detroit's not looking too great. It's just like a little injury. He might even be back now. I'm not quite sure what his status is, but that's the pipe dream for anybody who asks. AM Production 16 says Melo, Crawford, or Noah. Which veteran do you want on the Blazers? I don't want any of those guys on the Blazers.
Melo or Crawford? We definitely don't need Crawford right now.
We definitely don't need Melo.
Yeah, we do. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
I don't want to argue about that right now.
Yeah, no, that's not a. And the thing is, yeah, AM Production says Porter would improve in Portland. Porter would be great in Portland, just as a guy shooting and being like a secondary playmaker, and you know what I mean. Like he would help our spacing.
Yeah, just imagine him getting those, like Hood got like 4 or 5 corner threes today. Maybe not that much. At least 4 corner threes, and that's like Porter's like 43% from corner, I think.
Yeah.
He'd be pretty deadly.
And then imagine dude, our bench would be phenomenal if you had Simons, Hood, and Collins. And then like a buyout power forward, maybe it's like a Taj Gibson, or maybe it's I don't know what other power forwards might get bought out. Maybe it's a Marcus Morris or a guy like that. That'd be huge.
Yeah, there's some other center out there right now. Not Noah, but I'm blanking right now.
Fareed.
Fareed, yeah.
Because Fareed could play power forward next to Gasol, because Gasol could shoot, which would allow Fareed to play inside more, and Fareed's like a good lob target, and Gasol's a good passer. On defense, Fareed could, he could play against power forwards. The thing is, he's basically a power forward that can't shoot, because he's like 6'8", he's undersized for center. He's a power forward that can't shoot and can rebound, so you have to pair him with a center that can shoot and can play on the outside. So I think Gasol and Fareed would be a good fit together, and then maybe you'd play Fareed with Whiteside, and the spacing would take a hit, but you'd have a good rebounder. You'd have a guy who can finish, a guy who can roll with Fareed. I don't know. I feel like that's a guy we could definitely go after.
I'm trying to think of who. If Detroit or Chicago, I mean, Chicago has Felicio, but I was trying to think of like a cheap center on one of those teams that they would just throw in.
I mean, yeah, and we'll talk about like trade. We'll get back to trade talk. We don't need to get too deep into it. Russell, first round exit Westbrook says, we need players who space the floor and hit threes consistently. Melo and Crawford dominate the ball. Would rather have the ball in Lillard and CJ's hands. I 100% agree. Those guys would probably play with the bench, but like they're not efficient enough to be helpful scoring the ball. They suck defensively. They don't make. Crawford makes plays for others a little bit, but they're just like they're not efficient scorers, and they don't defend, and they don't consistently hit threes. So I don't know why we'd. I don't know why we do that. So, all right, there you go, Eric. You're good to do whatever you want. Eric said mute him. Got like some microwave meal being cooked up for him in the background. Some like, what's the type of microwave like TV dinner dish? It's like Hungry Man or something. Eric's big. He needs his Hungry Man meals. So I'll answer a couple other questions. Probably gonna wrap up this post game show. This post game show has been like an hour and 20 minutes, so this is a longer one. Why would the Nuggets give us Porter? I'm talking about the Bulls and Otto Porter Jr., not Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. is overrated. I'm not high on him. Powell's synonymous with consistency for me. Yeah, Powell will be good for us when he comes back. I'm just waiting. I'm excited for him to get back. We kind of need him right now. Wasn't Crawford just a low percentage, high volume shooter with us, like 38 to 40% field goal? Yep. And he improved once he left Portland, but then he, he's aging. He's old, so he's kind of like that would be his ceiling. The Crawford we had would be the best case scenario for Jamal Crawford because he's old. He's fallen off, so I don't think he's a good option. I don't think any of those guys are great options. Have I watched the 2000 Western Conference Finals against the Lakers? No, I haven't. Wouldn't want to live that. That's brutal. I'm kind of glad, I was too young to witness that because that would have been a scarring experience. That's the thing. Yeah, Neil did draft Griffin, I believe. He's familiar with Griffin, um, so he has that connection. I feel like if Griffin's available, we're going to be one of the teams going after him the hardest for sure. I feel like this is the year that we will finally land like an impact player, like a Blake Griffin or Al Porter Jr. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this live stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. Gonna talk about this win tonight. 3-2, 3-1 on the road trip is an accomplishment. I was worried about us going maybe 1-3. I was hoping for at least 2-2. Was pretty, would have been satisfied with 3-1 for sure. So nice to be 3-2. Now we have the 76ers, possibly without Joel Embiid. That would be a huge win to get to go 4-2 before we go back on the road for another road trip. Like I said in my schedule breakdown, if we're 7-10 after the first 17 games, then we're on a 50-win pace. Just if you base it off how hard our schedule is, our schedule is so hard that being 500 after 20 games would be an accomplishment. So if we can rack up some of these early wins and set us up well for later on in the season, then I'm pretty optimistic. So. Yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'm going to bow out. This is a peace out from me and Eric. And as always, go Blazers.